And then it just shut down. So now and then you walked in. And now it's fixed again. You just fixed it. Thank you. Okay. There we go. So we're looking at slime. We're looking at all the different kinds of slime, and we are drinking some slime water. What do you think of the Nepal water?
It's refreshing.
It's one of my favorite things to drink during the summer. I really like it.
It pulls more flavor the longer you let it sit, right?
It pulls more flavor and definitely gets more slimy. And I like it. I put a bunch of lime in it because that combination of the lime and nopal is very, very, very yummy. But yeah, and if you put too much, it'll get very slimy. It'll get really, really, as you would imagine. Thank you. No, nopal, you're welcome. What I do like about it is you can buy the nopal, the chunks already frozen. Hey, better Teresa, hi, welcome back. You can buy it already chopped up, cleaned and chopped up in the produce section for a couple of bucks. And then you can just throw them in the freezer and then just take out a handful of them and throw them in water and leave them overnight, and you have a really nice, refreshing, moistening water. So the way that the presence of the nopal has changed the chemistry of this water here is that all of this water now is in the form of heteropolysaccharides. This water now has had all of these sugars have gone out into the water, and they've grabbed onto the water, making kind of like little sponges, right? They've swelled up and they've held the water. And so the water is held in a different structure, and we can taste that, we can feel that, because it feels slimy on our mouth, right? It feels more moistening. It's changed that structure of water. So now, as that water comes into the body, our body, which has, so back to the glycosaminoglycans, these compounds, this is the slime that exists in our body, all of the interstitial fluid, the extracellular matrix, the slime, the mucus that bathes our tissues, all of our mucous membranes, all of the moisture in our body that is water-based is in the form of glycosaminoglycans. So we see in terms of specific gags, these are also called gags because it's a lot easier to say, we have things like glucosamine. Glucosamine is a nutrient that's used to increase health of the cartilage tissue. Cartilage tissue in synovial joints for lubrication. Hey, Sue, good morning. You just got home, 4:19 a.m. Oh, well, I'm glad you're still awake. So lubrication, exactly. So the synovial fluid that bathes our joints is also one of these gags. And then hyaluronic acid, which helps the cells in the body to hold moisture, is also a gag. And so these gags structurally are really, really similar to these heteropolysaccharides. The slime that we have in here is very similar to the slime of the mucus that lines our mouth, our gastrointestinal tract, but also of that fluid in the synovial joints, right? So all of these fluids that bathe our body, when we are dried out, when we're in overheated environments, when we are older and our body loses the ability to hold moisture, as happens as estrogen levels drop down, as we just get older and tissues are unable to hold moisture as well, with damage, with trauma, with chronic inflammation. Certain bodies have just a tendency to not hold moisture as much. There's a lot of different reasons why we might not be able to hold moisture. And so using plants that are rich in the heteropolysaccharides is really wonderful, because those are going to bring moisture into the body in a form that our body can recognize. And it means that those fluids are going to go into the tissues much more readily, that the body is going to recognize them and move them into tissues rather than just peeing them out, because that is what oftentimes happens with those bodies that tend to be really, really, really dried out. When they drink water, it often just kind of goes through and is peed out, and they don't feel those fluids moving deeply into the tissues, right? Because the fluid, the moisture wasn't in a form that the body could recognize. And so we change the fluid into a form the body can recognize by making it into a a starch based, right? So the heteropolysaccharides using aloe vera, using one other one I wanted to bring in for you all because I thought that you would like this. And it's also very big right now. Another form of heteropolysaccharide is sea moss. So you see a lot of people talking about sea moss these days as this magical thing that is so amazing. This is a sea moss gel, so I'm going to pass it around with a little scoopy so you can get some if you've never had it.
Is it also marshmallow falls into this?
Yep, marshmallow would fall into this, slippery elm, chia seeds, right? All of basil seeds, all of the things that hold moisture in the body. I know. There we go. We don't generally need a modifier. We don't generally need a moderator, but some people need a babysitter. So there we go. The herb in the water, Sue, was nopal, which is the prickly pear cactus we're using. And so we also just tried some sea moss gel because the company just sent me a sample of this gel to try. And a lot of people are talking about sea moss being this just amazing thing. Lots of minerals, the ability to hold moisture in the body, the ability to soften mucus and move it out of the body. Is a really beneficial thing, but that chemistry isn't just found in sea moss. That chemistry is found in a lot of different plants. And so, so we have a tendency to think that we have to get this one form. Either we have to get slippery elm, or we have to get sea moss, we have to get nopal. There's been times when nopal was this magical superfood and made into supplements and sold for exorbitant prices, which is bananas considering how abundant nopal is. But these different plants kind of get their time in the spotlight of being superfood type things when they're really beneficial for bringing moisture into the body, but also that chemistry is really, really abundant. Okay, so let's look, though, at the glycosaminoglycans, because that's what we're going to play with today. It is different having that protein in there. Having a mucopolysaccharide rather than a heteropolysaccharide makes all the difference in making something that is going to be able to really deeply penetrate into our body's tissues. So the one that we're going to look at today, the specific GAG that we're going to look at, is hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid, abbreviated HA. So this is used as a supplement. You could take it internally. You can also apply it topically. And what it does, it is a GAG. It is a long chain of sugars, exactly like what we've been looking at today, except that it also has a protein attached to it. So it's not just the sugars, it's a sugar-protein combination. And that sugar-protein combination is even more effective at being able to bring moisture into the bodies, into the human body, into an animal body. If you don't have hyaluronic acid, you can absolutely use a plant-based slime or starchy thing, right? You can use marshmallow, slippery elm. You can put sea moss on your face, and it has a lovely moistening and tonifying effect. But we are but when we're able to use the pure stuff, it is more effective. Can't see all the writing. I'm sorry.
Where does it come from? The
There you go.
hyaluronic acid in that form?
This form, it's made by bacterial fermentation. So, and that's actually a really good question, because one of the concerns that people have with something that is specific to an animal tissue, that it would be derived from animal sources. It is a pretty easy compound to make synthetically. So this is a synthetic form of hyaluronic acid. But if we had a natural form of hyaluronic acid, that would be animal sourced, and people probably wouldn't like that as much, and it would be exorbitantly expensive. So we can make exactly the same compound under bacterial fermentation in a lab, and it's relatively inexpensive and easy to source. I don't carry it in the apothecary. I get mine from Essential Wholesale and Labs. This is the company that I get it from, Essential Wholesale and Labs. They're a great source for raw materials like this. It is somewhat expensive to buy, but you're also using a very small amount at a time. So I encourage people to buy some, because expensive is like, it's about $40 for this ounce of the powder. But this makes a lot of serum, and if you've ever bought a hyaluronic acid serum, they're generally about $30 for a 1 ounce bottle, and you can make so many 1 ounce bottles with this. It is really, really, really cost effective. So if you're using hyaluronic acid serums, and why we would choose to use a hyaluronic acid serum instead of the many other types of serums in around available. There's niacinamide serums, and there's vitamin A serums, and there's vitamin C serums, and there's so many different serums. The hyaluronic acid is holding moisture, right? That's what it's doing. It's a gag. So it's holding moisture and delivering it to tissues. So we use HA specifically for dry tissues, for tissues that are unable to hold moisture, and also specifically when it is an environment like this in the summer. This is a really nice thing to have around. All right, so the recipe that we're using is a pretty simple recipe, and it makes a really nice form. Now this serum is going to be in the form of a gel, because we're dealing with something that holds on to moisture, and that's going to be a gel. So this is something that is layered. If you're using it as a facial serum, as a topical serum, it's not going to be a moisturizer in and of itself, which is true oftentimes for serums. We're going to be applying it and then layering a moisturizer over that, because the moisturizer is going to be able to hold that in there. It is an important part of using hyaluronic acid, or really any compound like this, if you're wanting to bring moisture to that tissue. Bring that moisture, put that on there, but then layer an oil-based something over that, because that is then going to hold that moisture in there and allow it to stay for a longer period of time without it just evaporating back out again, particularly if it is a very hot and dry environment. So we have, the base recipe is 3.4 grams of glycerin. We like to use glycerin as the base because glycerin is a humectant. It draws moisture to itself. So we are seeing another layer of that moisture in terms of having that glycerin in the base. And then we have 0.6 grams of our hyaluronic acid combination. We're going to blend this together. Now, some recipes using hyaluronic acid will have you just add the HA to water, to a base water, and you can do that. The most basic hyaluronic acid serum is HA in water, shake it up, and you have hyaluronic acid holding on to moisture. That's kind of all you need. But it takes a long time to introduce those. You have to keep on shaking them, and they're just, you can do that, and it's fine if you want to do that. And we'll go through some options for you there. But by mixing it in with the glycerin, it disperses it more readily, it doesn't clump up, and so it rehydrates more evenly and more rapidly. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to put that into a base of equal parts, about 53 grams each, of aloe vera. So we're going to use an aloe juice, and again, aloe is one of those plants that naturally contains these heteropolysaccharides, these long chains of sugars. Aloe is very soothing and healing to the tissue. It's also got a nice tonifying effect, so it's got an astringent effect as well as that moistening base. So we're going to use aloe vera. We're not going to use this form because this is hard to work with. We are going to use just an aloe vera juice, just like this. When you extract aloe from the leaf, it is always going to break down into a juice. It is not going to be in a gel form, in a shelf-stable form. It's not going to be in gel. It's always going to be in a juice. You can find aloe gels, but they are always artificially thickened. They have to add a thickener to there to make it into a gel. A lot of people tend to think the gel is the most raw, unprocessed form, but it isn't. They actually have to add something in there to make it the gel. So the juices are the most basic form. So 53 grams of aloe, and then 53 grams of a hydrosol. Now we have a couple of different hydrosols. Hydrosols are plant distillates, or they're plants that are distilled, and we use that distilled water. It's a way of getting essential oil chemistry in a form that's very safe and usable on the skin. It's not too strong. It isn't overuse of the oils that we use in aromatherapy. It's just a better way of using it. The other nice thing about hydrosols is that because they are products of distillation, the plants have gone through a still, the minerals that were in the water are left behind, and so the pH of a hydrosol is always slightly low. It's about a 4.5 pH. And so a low pH is very cooling to heat on the skin. It's nice and astringent. The skin really, really likes something that is slightly acidic or has a lower pH. So a hydrosol is going to drop that pH down, and it's also going to give us a little bit of fragrance. And I'll send these around. You can kind of spray them and smell. This is a lavender hydrosol. And then we have a peppermint hydrosol. This would be a nice one if we were going to use. We made another cooling spray the other day that was mostly based on essential oils. We're using different chemistry here. So there's mint. Lemon verbena, which I love. And then sage. So all of those would have some secondary, tertiary effects on the skin. There's some sage. Peppermint, additional cooling effects. Lavender, very calming and soothing, anti-inflammatory. Lemon verbena, very cooling and uplifting. Sage is astringent. It's going to help with oily skin. And also just their fragrances, right? So yeah, so you're going to choose one of those to be part of your serum. So we're going to mix half serum, or half hydrosol and half aloe. And then we're going to add this. So my part in this recipe, I'm going to make this base right here up. And then we're going to add this to your combination. You'll take a 1 ounce bottle. Thank you. A 1 ounce bottle, which is 30 milliliters, and you're going to add, which is just about 30 grams. So we have all of this in measurements, and generally with most liquids, a milliliter equals about a gram in weight. A milliliter is a volume measurement, a gram is a weight measurement. And about 1 milliliter equals about a gram in most watery things. That does not apply to glycerin. Glycerin is considerably heavier. It's a more dense material. So that's not going to exactly apply here. But generally, if you're measuring by weight, liquids that are waters, you can generally assume that 53 grams in weight is going to fill about 53 milliliters in volume. And 1 ounce is 30 milliliters. So this would be right about, if we add up all of this, it's 110 grams, and that would be about 3.5 ounces-ish. All right? If you didn't get that, that math, or didn't want to hear, and you were going, la, 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 stop mathing at me through that whole thing, I absolutely understand. Okay, so I've got my scale here, and I'm gonna make this a base, and I'm gonna make enough to make a couple of little batches of this so we can play around. So I'm gonna double this recipe. So I'm gonna have 6.8 grams of glycerin. I'm just gonna have that go up to 7 grams because I'm not driving.
Julie, that HA, is that for internal use also, or is it only topical?
This is for topical use primarily. This is made for topical use. You can get HA made for internal use, but I would buy it that is made to that specificity.
You can't
yes.
make that into something you can internally.
I don't know, and I wouldn't trust it because it doesn't say that it is for internal use. So it's probably fine. Maths brain, I know, Sue. It's 5 a.m. You're just home, and then I'm mathing at you. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to throw in 1.2 grams of the HA. There we go. All right. So I have just a little bit there. You can see there's the powder and the glycerin are mixed together. And if I mix these together, you can see that they're mixing very, very, very readily. Right? So because the hyaluronic acid doesn't react to glycerin, the glycerin can hold it and it can disperse it really, really well. If I had added the hyaluronic acid to water right here, it would just be big clumps. It would just be a mess. So this is the way that we are dispersing the hyaluronic acid, and it's not going to thicken until we add water. And as soon as we add water, it's going to start to thicken. So that is one thing that we do want to be mindful of. So you are going to be filling your 1 ounce bottle with equal parts of the whatever hydrosol you choose and aloe vera. And then you're going to add in 1 gram of this blend. And then you're going to, and it's immediately going to start to thicken because now it's got water, right? So as soon as you add that in there, you're going to put the top on and shake it up. And what's going to happen is it's going to thicken really readily, and you're going to think, oh no, this does not look good at all. It's going to be chunky. And you don't want a chunky serum. Chunky and serum is just not combinations. But it is that hyaluronic acid starting to react to the water. And that's okay. You're going to shake it up and then just let it sit for a couple of minutes and shake it up again. Let it sit for a couple of minutes and shake it up again. And after about 10-15 minutes, it will thin out and it'll be a lovely, lovely consistency of a hyaluronic acid. And it'll have that slime to it. It's going to be just like an aloe vera slime because it is a gag. It's a long chain of sugars and proteins. But because of the presence of that protein, that is going to really help with its ability to get that moisture directly, deeply into skin tissue where the heteropolysaccharides can't really go because they don't have proteins, and we are protein-based creatures. Okay. So, any questions about this? What you're going to do? So I'll pour the aloe into a smaller graduated cylinder so that it can be measured more readily, and then you can come and get a.
Would this be good to use on a sunburn?
It would be great to use on a sunburn. It would be extremely effective to use on a sunburn because of its ability to hold the moisture right there. And that's tissue that is burnt and dried up, right? What it needs is a layer of moisture.
Could you add essential oils into it if you wanted to do like a lavender or something?
Oh yeah, if you wanted to make one maybe that was specific for
Like sunburn.
sunburn. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't, and certainly not for putting it on the face. I would maybe not, except you could do like frankincense essential oil, which is specifically for skin care. maybe some other skin-specific oils, but mostly I don't. I like to use the hydrosols are really great as fragrance sources. But yeah, I love that idea. I also have cheeseweed mallow in my garden. Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. So the cheeseweed mallow, what you've got there are the heteropolysaccharides. Those are those long chains of sugars, and you can use that topically on the face. You can take the leaves. Oh, this is actually really, really nice. Take the leaves and the seeds in particular, the little cheese wheels, right? If you take those, number one, eat them because they're super delicious and crunchy, and they'll fill your mouth with slime. You can really see how strongly mucilaginous those are. But then you can grind those together, the leaves and the seed pods, when they're still green. Grind them together to make a paste, and do that as a facial. Let it dry, and it will really firm up the skin, and it brings a lot of moisture in there. It feels really, really, really nice. Yep, so we are putting the serum that we're making on our face. This is going to be a facial serum. This is a hyaluronic acid serum, which, yeah, if you buy it in the shop, it's going to be really expensive. But this is pretty inexpensive. And this is going to make, as I said, it's expensive to buy this, but this amount of this is going to make 4 bottles of a serum. All right. So, do you know what hydrosols you want to make? Want to use?
I think I want the lemon. How shelf stable is this?
We are going to also add. I'm so glad you said that. And then what also we're going to do is we're going to add a preservative because we have a water-based product that is not going to stay shelf stable without some intervention. And so we are going to add a preservative here. And so we're going to add it. This preservative, this is Optifen. I've spoken of Optifen before in class. I'm not going to really talk about it a lot. This is one of my favorite preservatives. It's my kind of go-to all-purpose EcoCert preservative. There are no parabens in it. There's no... it's anti-aging topically, just as you would take it internally, right? It is anti-aging in that it is allowing the cells to hold more moisture. That's a specific type of anti-aging, because other things that are anti-aging will be helpful for like brightening up the skin, reducing sunspots, helping to reduce inflammation, right? This is very specifically holding moisture. So for dry tissues, older tissues, yes, because older tissues are unable to hold moisture as much, but really, if we think of it as that dryness being the primary thing. Yes, the preservative that I'm using is Optifen. Optifen. Phenoxyethanol is the primary preservative in here, so that's why it's called Optifen. Optifen. So we're doing, we're going to do Optifen. I'm going to add it to our hyaluronic acid base, but I'm going to formulate, I'm going to measure according to the liquid that we're putting in. So we're using 110 mils total, and we doubled that. That's 220 mils. And we're using, this is from 0.5 to 1.5% is the range. I always put the important information on my preservatives in large font so I can just see it right there. No pH restriction. The temperature range is too high for me to even worry about, so I don't have temperature on there. But if the temperature range is pretty low, I'm going to write that also on Sharpie. So 0.5 to 1.5. I'm going to keep it pretty low because we're just making one bottle. We're using it all up, so we don't have to have a lot of preservative. So 0.5%, 220 grams total. So that would be 2.2 grams would be 10, so 1.1 grams would be 5%. So I'm going to add, and actually, more accurate than that, I'm going to do 1.5 mils because generally liquids in grams to mils are about equal. So, so that's going to be, when you have such a small measurement, yeah, because it's going to be able to disperse in here very readily and easily, and then we can mix into your things.
And we're still
Yeah,
gonna
that's
do
the aloe.
1 gram of that.
Yeah, and you're gonna do 1 gram of this. Well, it'll actually be a little bit over 1 gram. It'll be about 1.3 grams. Yes, yeah, that won't have changed. I did double the recipe, so I had to like stop and think, did that? That doesn't change. Okay, so I'm just mixing the preservative in here again with the hyaluronic acid and glycerin.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a little space for that.
All right. And so you should be able to. I wonder if we can. No, I think that won't do as well. Okay. Do you have your mostly filled? So I am going to weigh out, when you have the ingredients, so the ingredients I mentioned earlier, I get my hyaluronic acid from Essential Wholesale and Labs. That's them. There's a lot of places online where you can get things, but that's a reliable source. I've bought from them quite a lot. They, I'm sure, have Optifen. This one I got from Halal Everyday, which is it's an online supplier. But Optifen is a big supplier of preservatives, so there's going to be a lot of different companies that sell it. What you want to look for is Optifen, and then it doesn't really matter what source you get it from, because it's just wherever you buy it from. This is the plus. Okay, so I am going to weigh out so when you're measuring small amounts of something, it's nice to have a scale to measure things. It's nice to have a tiny scale to measure tiny volumes of things. So if you are just measuring out, if you're measuring out gram amounts of things, it is helpful to have, there you go. It's helpful to have little scales like this. Okay. Renee? Here. So I'm going to pour this in, and it's going to start to thicken very quickly. So you're going to want to shake it up. There you go. All right, any questions about any of this from folks while you are watching us? This is the least fun part of class, is watching us doing our stuff here. Okay, is that yours?
Oh, I can hear it getting thicker.
You can.
Yeah, 'cause it's like that.
Yeah.
There you go. Have you ever used any of you ever used a hyaluronic acid serum before?
Yeah, I actually put it in my my face.
Oh, in your-
You can do that same kind.
No, I actually use a serum, but
Oh.
now I know I can make my own
You
serum.
can just, don't pay for a serum and then put it in. Yeah, I really love the way the serums feel.
Oh wow.
They really are so nice. Especially for, are you getting it chunky?
Yeah, it's good. They're cheaper than getting the serum. Yeah, but I want to see them. So that's it, yeah.
I know, I was gonna write down the.
Oh, the label?
Yeah.
There you go.
Real quick, what's the difference between the heteropolysaccharides and the mucopolysaccharides?
So the heteropolysaccharide is the larger category of them, these long chains of sugars. Mucopolysaccharides are a specific type of heteropolysaccharide. They're the type of heteropolysaccharide that we're finding in animal bodies
Oh, and
with the
not
protein.
in the plants.
Not in the plants.
Not in the plants.
So
Those
plants
are the
do not
animals.
contain mucopolysaccharides.
Oh, okay.
That's the distinct difference, is that because the plants don't need the proteins, right?
Oh.
They just use the sugars to make these compounds, and that's why the plant-based ones are really nice. That is also, by the way, you see a lot of people talking about these plant-based heteropolysaccharide sourced things like sea moss as vegan collagens, right? It's vegan collagens. It's just like collagen. Collagen is a protein, and the animal sources have no proteins in it. It's absolutely not a type of a collagen. It's not that it's not wonderful for the skin, but collagen is a connective tissue. Protein is a structural compound, and there's 0 compounds that are going to be supporting collagen health, connective tissue health in this blend. That's just not there. But with a hyaluronic acid, yes, that has an amino acid base to it. So that is able to go in and support those tissues. So
You said any plant-based collagen is not.
So no, plant-based collagen can be valid. Generally, topically, look, and usually it is heteropolysaccharide containing plants. And that's all it is. And it feels really nice, but there's no proteins in there. You can add proline and lysine to a formula like that. Those are the 2 amino acids that are required to make collagen, and they are often deficient in a vegan diet. But you can take proline and lysine and vitamin C, mix those together and take it as a supplement. Use it in a vitamin C stable form topically for promoting collagen production topically. That would be great, but you have to have those proteins. You have to have those amino acids. If not, then they can bandy the word collagen around all you want. It's not making collagen because it doesn't have those. It doesn't have lysine and proline, and without lysine and proline, you can't have a collagen. Yeah. We're pouring into bottles with aloe and hydrosol. Oh, where did I get the small scale? I don't remember where I got the small scale from. It's like,
So
it's diamond scale. It was from my days measuring drugs. That's what I remember it from, is in the 80s. That's what we use these for. Adding orange peel hydrosol. Ooh, can you put the serum on after cleansing your face with castor oil and jojoba oil? What a great question, eyes open. I wouldn't. It's a great question. The reason that I wouldn't is because, and I love oil cleansing. I really, really love oil cleansing, especially as I get older. I find it to be really, really beneficial. When I was younger, didn't like oil cleansing, didn't like oils on my body, but I've got older skin now, and it's really nice. The oil cleansing is going to create somewhat of a barrier on the skin because you have that residual oil on there. And I think that would hinder deep absorption and penetration of the hyaluronic acid. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think that I am. Try it and see. You could add vitamin C, but you have to be really careful about the form of vitamin C that goes in here, because you can't just add vitamin C. Vitamin C is ascorbic acid, would be really, really acidic and damaging to your skin. It would also be very, very unstable. It would break down very quickly, and then you wouldn't even have any vitamin C, but it would still be acidic and damaging to your skin. So you don't want to do that. What you can use is you can use a form of vitamin C. The best form of vitamin C for use topically on the skin is can you read that? I got the blue, the weird blue one. Ascorbyl palmitate. ASCORBYL. Ascorbic acid is vitamin C. Ascorbyl palmitate. This is ascorbic acid bound to palmitic acid, which is a fatty acid. And that makes this vitamin C fat soluble. Most vitamin C is water soluble. This is a synthetic compound. You can't find this naturally. Natural source of vitamin C is going to be damaging the skin. It's going to drop the pH down. It's going to be irritating. It's not going to be stable, blah, blah, all of that stuff. But this form is fat stable. It has an affinity to the skin. It's going to stay stable in your skincare products. So, oh, thank you, eyes open. Yeah, so if you want to add vitamin C, add ascorbyl palmitate. And you can get that as a supplement. You can get it as an additional product. But don't put just plain vitamin C in there. You see people talking about that. Don't do it. It's going to be really harsh on your skin, and it's not going to work because it will oxidize. Anyway, make your own ascorbic acid. Make your own ascorbic acid serum. Absolutely, make a vitamin C serum, but also make a hyaluronic acid serum because it's really, really inexpensive. Could you cleanse your face with those oils at night and wait till the morning? Totally, absolutely, yes. Yeah. Have it be some other time. That's the best way to do it, or even like opposite, whichever one would work better for you. I would do it then and do a soap cleanse or at least, yeah, I would do a soap cleanse, especially if you're doing the castor oil cleansing, because castor oil is really, really great for cleansing, but you know that thickness, that viscosity, it does stay on the skin. Yeah, so yeah, another time. That would be exactly the way to do it. Eyes open. Yep, that would be the way. All right, so there you go. Is it
Thickening a little bit.
nice?
Question.
Yes.
You had mentioned adding a moisturizer on top of this. Any recommendation for that? Because I was thinking this might be helpful for dry hands or dry feet.
Sure, for dry hands and dry feet, it would be really, really great. Yeah. And after that, I would do something really thick. I would use something like shea butter after.
Shea butter.
Right? Put that on, let it dry completely, let it kind of get in there, and then just go over with a thick butter. Shea butter is particularly good for hands and feet just because of the ratio, the types of fatty acids that are in there are so beneficial. But yeah, any type of a good, strong moisturizer is going to be good for that. All right, so there you go. Another way to moisten the body. We're like all focused on cooling and moistening and healing, all that stuff. No, you're the best. All right, so I'll see you next week. Thanks for showing up. Thank you for your patience with all of the eternal weird technology stuff. I'm so sorry about that. I don't think it's me. I think it's just everything that I touch. You don't have to worry about being in the sun with this on. Absolutely, you do want to. It's not a sunscreen. So you want to use a sunscreen, but it's not going to increase your sensitivity to the sun. Absolutely, yes. Okay. All right, Mwah. Sue, go to sleep. I will see you soon. Thanks, Marco. So good to see you. Teresa, good to see you. Thanks, everyone. I will see you again next week. Okay. Bye-bye.